Hi, good evening. It is such a pleasure to be here with you tonight and to represent Motorola Solutions in this most incredible award. And before we get started, I'd like to take this moment to invite Bill Genoway to join me up here, the president of the Congressional Fire Services Institute. The Mason Lankford Fire Service Leadership Award was created in 1998 as a tribute to a legendary leader who devoted much of his life to fire and emergency services. Although Mason served the fire service in various capacities, his most important work was done in congressional and state legislative offices, helping to shape policy. Mason was driven by a passion to make the fire and emergency services profession safer for all. Tonight, we recognize an individual who exemplifies the passion of the late Mason Lankford, a true leader in promoting and supporting the fire and emergency services. He has dared to ask questions that nobody likes to answer. We are particularly proud to recognize this individual because for over 50 years, his commitment to the fire and emergency services has been to challenge the traditional mindset and encourage the criteria of this award. His tireless passion for education, quest for the use of new technology, has put him at the forefront in demanding professionalism, driving safety initiatives, fire prevention, code enforcement, and training, and has won him the respect and admiration of his peers. So at this time, please join me in welcoming this year's award recipient, Chief Ronny Coleman. So, Chief Coleman, we have much more to say about you. For over 50 years, Chief Coleman has dedicated his life to the fire and emergency services. He is the fire services Renaissance man. He's held nearly all ranks, from firefighter and fire chief to California State Fire Marshal and president of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. And today, Chief Coleman serves as the chairman of the International Accreditation Services, as a member of the Technical Advisory Committee on the Accreditation of Fire Prevention Bureaus, and as president of the new National Fire Heritage Center. No matter what role he was serving, Chief Coleman infuses his passion and zest for professionalism within the fire and emergency services community. And a major portion of Ronny's, I may call you Ronny, I hope. A major portion of Ronny's career was spent motivating and training in the fire service. So in addition to that, he was also, as you know, a prolific writer who has spent over 23 years as the Chief's clipboard columnist and who authored over 19 textbooks. Ronny has inspired many firefighters, officers, chiefs, and so many others to refuse the ordinary and perform the extraordinary. He was the catalyst to help standardize and streamline education programs in the fire service with the annual Fire and Emergency Services Higher Education Conference. And Chief Coleman, your passionate commitment to excellence extends well beyond the classroom. You have emphasized the importance of the dangers of modern construction to increase safety on the fire ground. And Ronny has been on the front lines of nearly every technical innovation in the fire and emergency services. Long ago, the death of a young girl inspired his advocacy for the development and implementation of life-saving residential fire sprinkler technology, and that has saved the lives of countless firefighters and citizens. And while Chief Coleman has spent many years as an active participant in the fire service in the traditional sense, he has also embraced his role as a representative of the fire service on the national stage. In the early 1970s, Ronny was involved in the America Burning series and the Wing Spread Fire Conferences years before that. Most recently, Ronny was instrumental in establishing the peer-driven Certified Officer Designation Program and the Center for Public Safety Excellence. Chief Coleman's passion for activism has inspired many fire service leaders at the local, state, and national levels, and he has influenced even reluctant fire professionals to engage in the political process to drive change. Mason Lankford called for a stronger fire service without leaving anyone behind. Chief Ronny Coleman, through his passion for change and most importantly his actions, exemplifies all of these attributes of this great legend. Ronny has been the mentor for so many young firefighters and fire officers, championing education and sparring with complacency while applauding achievement. His dedication and commitment to raising the level of professionalism and common sense had one of his colleagues call him the Benjamin Franklin of today's fire service. I think that was a wonderful compliment, Ronny. So Ronny is truly a man of his word, written and spoken, and I can't think of a more deserving person for this award. So at this time, I would like to turn the microphone over to Bill Genoway for the official presentation. Thank you, Ronny.
Thank you. Very simply, the candidates this year were overshadowed by one person, a fellow that I've known for probably 30 years now. I can't think of anyone more deserving of this award this year. So, Ron, congratulations.
Thank you. Hold on, let's move over to Dave. Well, first off, let me just say, I give thanks to the person that nominated me. I wished I had the opportunity to know that he did it before he did it, because to be very candid about it, receiving an award of this particular significance is very profound and has a great deal of introspection to it. I thank CFA, Congressional Fire Service Institute, and Motorola Corporation for their support for this particular award and appreciate being a candidate. But to be honest with you, when you're notified of an honor like this, it varies on its personal impact on you in terms of timing and how you actually feel about it. I'm sure that in many of your careers, most of you have probably received recognition at one time or another for any number of reasons, and I've received a lot of awards in my lifetime also prior to coming here, just like many of you, but the impact on you personally is really different. And I'll tell you exactly what I mean. This particular event was both a surprise and at the same time not a surprise. I'll tell you what I mean by it was a surprise. I received a phone call from a gentleman on the telephone one day asking me to respond to coming here for a workshop, Sean, to be exact. And I started off with I carried on a 10-minute conversation before he finally told me, "Shut up, I want to talk to you about the award." I thought we were talking about something else. You know, sometimes awards come with total surprises, and sometimes they come with advance warning. And how you respond to that it gives me a lot of cause. I was reminded of an orator one time who was asked to give a speech, and he said, "How long should the speech be?" And the person who asked him said, "Well, how long do you want it to be?" He said, "Well, if you expect me to speak for an hour, I'll start right now. But if you expect me to speak for 10 minutes, you give me a week to prepare." You have to think about what you're going to say if you know you're going to get an opportunity to say it. So I've chosen some words tonight that I hope are relatively meaningful. The first thing, I come from Hollywood in California, as you know, and every time they give an Oscar speech, when someone says, "Oh, I didn't know I was going to get the award," and they ramble on for 30 minutes thanking everybody they ever knew in their entire lifetime. Well, I don't have time to do that. I was told to be brief this evening, so I'm going to be real brief. I didn't realize how important it was to me about all of you until I started thinking about the award. Because the fact of the matter is, nobody ever gets a chance to stand on a stage like this without being supported by a large number of people. I could not possibly even begin to recognize all the names of individuals that I've interacted with, but I do want to provide at least a little definition of why I think it's an honor to be here tonight. Because I actually do believe that I was put on this stage by other people, not myself. I want to tell you who I'm only going to use one name. The only name I am going to use is my wife, Marie. Trust me, I wouldn't be here without her. I might remind many of you that you're in the same boat. My friends have been very supportive to me over the years, but I've also had critics for the different things that I've done. There's a lot of people I would love to be able to thank, but I can't possibly name them all. But I will say this. To the fire service, I owe gratitude to all of those out there in this audience tonight that have led me, inspired me, and those that have followed me. I've searched in many cases sometimes to identify a role. Sometimes it was to listen to somebody else. Sometimes I asked people to listen to me. One of the things that makes me really proud to be here tonight is the fact that we personify a word that is becoming extremely important in society today, and that's the concept of public service. I'd also like to pay respects to a group of people that will never be in this room, and that's the communities and the jurisdictions that I've worked for, the cities, the states, and so forth. I owe a great deal of appreciation to them for subscribing to the principles of fire protection by following some of my goofy recommendations. I have been controversial at times, and I have been treated as mainstream at times, but almost every time I asked my boss for permission to go out and tilt with windmills, he gave me permission to do so. I think we owe an awful lot to the people that put us in this room tonight, because they're the ones that give us the public trust. As I look out in this audience tonight, I see examples of a whole bunch of different people that I could name. Unfortunately, I really can't see them all because these lights prohibit that from this particular distance. But I got to tell you, I'm extremely pleased to be associated with some names that have already been subscribed to this award. I know who they are. You know who you are. I know who my friends are. I know who my peers are. And I owe everybody in this room tonight a great big thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm especially pleased to have my name associated with Mason Lankford for the simple reason that I'm probably among a diminishing crowd of people who actually remember the man. He was an inspiration. And he could also aggravate you at times. He could kick you in the ankle. He could make you think twice before you did what you were going to do. And lastly, I can personally predict that somebody out here in this audience or somewhere in the American Fire Service, a person is going to get a call next year, and I want to give you a warning. As soon as they make that phone call, I hope you have to sit down and start thinking about how you're going to express your appreciation also. I cannot predict what my successor will ever say any more than I can predict anything any of you are going to say. But I can summarize my thoughts from a quote from a history book about those that have chosen to follow the paths of fire protection discipline. There was an author once. His name was John Godfrey Sachs. He says this: "If Prometheus was worthy of the wrath of heaven for kindling the first fire on earth, how ought all the gods honor the men and women who make it their professional business to put it out?" I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for this award. I do wish I was more like Ben Franklin, because he had a lot more hair when he was 84 years old than I do. I hope as my career continues, because I'm not quite finished yet, I hope to continue to deserve your best wishes. Thank you very much.